country with world's largest military wages 40-year war against unarmed plant. Plant still wins. If the truth makes you uncomfortable, don't blame the truth, blame the lie that made you comfortable. News you can I absorb 10 times more radiation than adults. Say no to 5G. Did you know there are roughly 4,200 religions today? Some say that 4,199 are false. Some say that 4,200 are false. Zero tolerance for animal abusers. While there is some dispute about whether the US spy drone was 5 miles within Iranian's territorial waters or 6 miles outside of them, some things are clear. The US spy drone was over 7,200 miles outside of US territorial waters and was spying on Iran. And if you look on the little red dot on the land, that's where Iran said they shot down the US spy drone, and this is where the US government says it shot down the US spy drone. And the one thing to recall about this, of course, is that the US government always lie to cause war. We know where these weapons of mass destruction are. They're around to grit and blah blah blah. Oh, I never said that. Nationwide chief paid $500 a day in expenses on top of his lavish benefits on top of 2 million salary and bonus. I will not apologise for wanting clean food, clean air, clean water and an earth without war. This is from yesterday. Satanic plaque and altar unearthed in the Queen's Holyrood Park in Scotland. In a secluded area of the Queen's Holyrood Park in Edinburgh, Scotland, archaeologists have unearthed 2 mysterious objects, including a metal plaque depicting an upside-down pentagram with a horned beast in the centre. You don't need any more than that, really, do you? Most likely the demonic entity Baphomet, and an altar with undisclosed display objects around the plinth. While news outlets are calling the object pagan, the symbology appears more associated with Satanism and devil worship. Holyrood, the seat of Scottish royals, the Scotsman announced that the satanic objects were found on Winnie Hill above St Margaret's Loch in Holyrood Park in Edinburgh. Holyrood and Hollywood. Holyrood Park, which is also known as the Queen's Park, is a royal park that remains part of Holyrood's Palace, the Queen's official residence in Scotland. Holyrood Park was established by King David I of Scotland in 1128 AD as the royal hunting grounds for Holyrood Abbey. Holyrood Palace, also known as the Royal Palace of Holyrood House, started a lodging within the abbey, but was eventually expanded into a substantial palace which served as a principal residence for the King and Queen of Scots since the 16th century. And you look at that picture, that tells you all you need to know about the royals. US and Israel fabricating lies to provoke war with Iran, ex-CIA officer. This is one of their own guys telling you they're making shit up to try and cause World War III. A former American counter-terrorism specialist and military intelligence officer of the CIA says some elements of the Donald Trump administration, in collaboration with the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, are fabricating lies in order to provoke a war with Iran. The United States is moving dangerously forward in what appears to be a deliberate attempt to provoke war with Iran. Apparently based on threat intelligence provided by Israel. Well, you know, you can trust that then. Philip Giraldi, wrote in our article published on Friday, the claims made by the National Security Advisor John Bolton and by Secretary of State Mike Pompeo that there is solid evidence of Iran's intention to attack US forces in the Persian Gulf region is almost certainly a fabrication, possibly deliberately contrived by Bolton and company in collaboration with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, he stated, Press TV reported. It will be used to justify sending bombers and additional naval air forces resources to confront any possible moves by Tehran to maintain its oil exports, which were blocked by Washington last week. In the US Navy, if the US Navy tries to board ships carrying Iranian oil, it will undoubtedly and justifiably provoke a violent response from Iran, which is precisely what Bolton, Pompeo and Netanyahu are seeking, he noted. Dear Indira, this is your legacy. Water, water, water. The University of Alberta granted an honorary degree to Nestle's Corp leader Peter Barbeck-Letmathy. He's a Satanist as well, by the way. Where is the Nestle boycott when it is needed? Martin Hill believes that the exorbitant suicide rate among First Nations youth, first to 7 times that of other Canadian, according to the federal government, is directly related to the lack of drinkable water. For a Six Nations person, water is sacred and a symbol of life, but the lack also has metaphorical significance as it becomes representative of the myriad ways that Indigenous Canadians are treated as second-class citizens. Progress on water in Indigenous communities is an international scandal, even though the government has made it a priority. With the election of Justin Trudeau, Satanist, the tide seems to shift somewhat. The Prime Minister promised to improve First Nations prosperity and solve the bad water issue of Indigenous reserves by March 2021, and he won't do a thing. While there has been some progress, there aren't sufficient funds. The Liberal government earmarked $1.8 billion over 5 years to solve their water issue, but the real cost is estimated to be $3.2 billion, leaving the government more than $1 billion short. Nestle is an evil, evil corporation. Top scientist resigns. Global warming is a $1 trillion scam. It has corrupted many scientists. The following is a letter to the American Physical Society released to the public by Professor Emeritus of Physics Harold Hal Lewis of the University of California at Santa Barbara. Dear Kurt, when I first joined the American Physical Society 67 years ago, it was much smaller, much gentler and as yet uncorrupted by the money flood. A threat against which Dwight Eisenhower warned a half a century ago. Indeed, the choice of physics as a profession was then a guarantor of a life of poverty and abstention. It was World War II that changed all that. The prospect of worldly gain drove new physics. As recently as 35 years ago, when I chaired the first APS study of a contentious social scientific issue, the reactor safety study, though there were zealots aplenty of the outside, there was a hint of inordinate pressure on us as physicists. We were therefore able to produce what I believe was and is an honest appraisal of the situation at that time. We were further enabled by the presence of an oversight committee consisting of P. Panofsky, Victor Wiskoff and Hans Beth, all towering physicists beyond reproach. I was proud of what we did in a charged atmosphere. Links in description, but basically he's telling you that climate change, global warming, it's all a scam. Climate change has always been here, but they're trying to make out it's man-made when it's always been here. ZamZam cured the tumour of a man. Read his story. All links in the description. ZamZam water is a sacred thing for all the Muslims around the world, as it's scientifically proven that ZamZam water is one of the purest forms of water available on Earth. This is a true story of a Bosnian man who has gotten his tumour cured with the help of a ZamZam water. Nahid J from Sarajevo, at the age of 32, had been diagnosed with liver tumour, and it was severe. Doctor had lost all hope to cure his tumour and asked him to count his days. In 2006, his tumour started spreading. Doctor giving him a little time and said, the transplant was not done, then you will be losing your life. He tried everything but couldn't find anything which can make his transplant sooner, as he was running out of time. During these days, he had gotten attached to his faith. After losing all the hopes of getting recovered, in 2007 he decided to go to Hajj as his one last wish, but he never knew that it was a place where he will find the cure for his incurable illness. He met an imam there who was from Visoko, the city of in Bosnia near Sarajevo. That imam noticed that the feet of the man are shorter than other people who come from Hajj. That imam asked him about his health, and that man told him everything about his tumour. The imam said, "You have come to the right place." He told him about the healing properties of ZamZam, and that imam asked that man to drink it with an intention of healing, because intention is very powerful. If you put intention into whatever you're doing, you're going to bring it to you. Links in description. Coconut oil is better than toothpaste according to researchers. Now this makes perfect sense because it's antibacterial, antiviral, antifungal. So if you've got halitosis, it'll sort that out. Plus, if you've got anything wrong with you in your gums, like bleeding gums and that, it'll sort that out as well. Makes perfect sense. Recent research done at the Athlone Institute of Technology studies the effects of several natural oils on common bacteria found in the mouth, and to one's surprise, coconut oil came out as the big winner. These new findings were follow-up study on earlier work that showed this digested milk made it harder for Streptococcus mutants to stick to teeth enamel. Enzyme modified coconut oil, the toothpaste of the future. Scientists found that when the coconut oil was treated with digestive enzymes, just as if it would when ingested, it effectively inhibits the growth of majority of bad bacteria found in the mouth, mutants, Streptococcus mutans included. S. mutans is an acid-producing bacteria that plays a major role in tooth decay, affecting 60 to 90% of children and a majority of adults in industrialized countries. While coconut oil's bacteria-fighting properties is nothing new, further studies presented at the autumn meeting of the Social and General Microbiology at the University of Warwick suggested that enzymes-treated coconut oil may be a potential killer to the yeast Candida albicans, which cause thrush. The truth comes out. Former IRS director admits taxes are voluntary. And if you don't want to read this, the whole story, well, just read it. Steve Miller, former director of the Internal Revenue Services, admitted at a congressional hearing that the taxes collected by the IRS are not mandatory but voluntary. When questioned at the House Ways and Means Committee hearing last week, Miller told House Representative David Nunes that America's tax system is voluntary. When Nunes remarked that clarification that the US tax code is a voluntary system, Miller said, agreed. House Representative Xavier Becerra commented that the ruse of the IRS is kept as a public confidence in the system scheme to keep Americans paying money to the IRS. Miller confirmed this is so. The shuffle that the IRS has handed Danny Welfeld as the new acting director. At his first message to those employed at the IRS, Welfeld said that amid the mistrust of the public brewing against the organisation, it is the mission of the employees to help steal more money. That's what he means by that. But there you have it. Taxation, just as in the UK, is voluntary. DWP fit to work assessment costs more money than they save, report reveals. You'd think they were trying to bump us off or something, wouldn't you? The government is spending more money assessing whether people are fit to work than it is saving in reductions to the benefits bill, a damning official report has revealed. The study by National Audit Office found that the Department of Work and Pensions is handing over 1.6 billion over the next 3 years to private contractors who carry out controversial health and disability assessments. It's a depopulation plan. I've been saying it for a long time. You know it, if you've been watching. Express. TV star Clune says BBC axed his show because viewers were too old. Why won't Boris tell us what happened? Smoke and mirrors this. Refuses 6 times to say why police were called to home. Lover carry miss key event in race for number 10. Remain voting neighbour denies plot to sabotage Johnson. Mirror. Bust up witness revealed. Boris row was so frightening I had to call police. Neighbour tells all because likely PM should be held to account. Telegraph. Left-wing neighbour admits tapping Boris row. Playwright's anti-Tory wife made insulting gesture at leadership contender outside flat. RSPCA headline, hardline faction behind move to ban angling and horse racing. The fail. Voters now say Hunt would be the best PM, but Johnson is cheered by Tory delegates as anti-Brexit neighbours admit leaking row tape. Hunt would be the worst PM, even worse than this, and he's terrible. Bust up Boris hit by shot pole below. Yeah, was you asked? No, me neither. Wonder where they make this poll up then. The Observer. Johnson under fire over row with partner as far-right link is revealed. Top Tories raise fears over charter. Candidate refuses to respond to questions. Video shows Bannon ties to Johnson. Observer comment. It has never been clearer that the Tories cannot be trusted on Brexit. No MP can. People. Bojo, no. Johnson dodges 7 questions over bust up with girl Carrie. And TV Sherry, I'm going deaf. What do you say? Okay, I'm going deaf. Right. Karen Matthews gets job as a carer, but vile mum accused of getting too close to OAP husband. Waste of paper. Let's kick Bulger killer out of UK. He cost us a fortune, but vile pedo Venables now set to move to Canada. I'm sure they'll be happy about that. The Sunday Times. Boris is a security risk. Hunt allies claim Johnson's private life poses a danger. Oh, well, anything they can grab on they will do, won't they? But neither of them are fit for purpose. A candidate caught in his own spinning Pisa wheel of doom. Rail bosses let the plane take the strain as trains are too expensive. Yeah, trains are more expensive than a plane trip. You can fly to Scotland and back cheaper than you can go on the train. How ridiculous is that? Banished brides suffer tragic fate. Now, finally, or so almost finally, the best hospital sign. Well done, Northampton. Family planning advice. Use rear entrance. Where else but the National Health in the UK? And just before I get to the final one, YouTube's changes its terms of service, which means it's going to be kicking the likes of me and anyone else that's talking, telling you what's really going on, explaining what's going on, will be being kicked off YouTube in next month. I think it's 22nd. So if you want to keep watching my videos and seeing what I've got to say, get over to BitChute, Salon on BitChute, or my Daily Motion channel. All links are up here in as that have gone by, and also in the description if I've got room, which usually I don't have these days because of all the links and other things. And finally, that awkward moment when you realise you are the smartest person in the room and you are in the doctor's office.